Copy that!
Yeah, I got you a couple. Yeah.
I broke it.
Ew.
Accidents happen. I mean, after all, that's how I got here. And today I'm going to cover some of the biggest movie bloopers Hollywood didn't want you to find out. Welcome back to the Screen Cinema. Let's get into the video. Ian McKellen's Watch. The Lord of the Rings movies are set in a fantasy world where technology doesn't exist in the same way that it does here. The characters use swords to fight battles and travel everywhere on foot because they don't have cars or planes. With that in mind, the last thing you should ever expect to find in one of these films is a piece of modern technology. Say, a watch, for example. Unfortunately, that's precisely what viewers noticed during a fight scene with Ian McKellen's Gandalf. One shot appeared to show the character wearing the timepiece on his wrist, and fans were incredibly disappointed. Although the actor should have remembered to remove the watch during filming, no one else behind the scenes apparently picked up on the device. They definitely dropped the ball on this one. Jamie Foxx's sunglasses. If you're going to film something that's set in the past, it's usually a good idea to keep things as accurate as possible. The last thing you want to do is try to rewrite history by having characters do something that wouldn't have been acceptable back then. For his revisionist Western movie Django Unchained, Quentin Tarantino did an excellent job of keeping his film accurate to the 1800s time period. However, there was at least one moment where the director slipped up after he allowed Jamie Foxx to wear these sunglasses. Back then, this type of eyewear wasn't common, and it was apparently only through a doctor's prescription that people could get them. Given the character that Fox was playing, we doubt he'd have acquired such a thing this way.
Django. D-J-A-N-G.
The lake didn't exist yet. When it comes to romance movies, a lot of people think of Titanic. It might not have a particularly happy ending, but it's a great example of how love has no boundaries. Unfortunately, it's not just Jack's tragic fate in the film that left some viewers disappointed. It seems that one of the scenes designed for world building was filled with historical inaccuracies. Although Leonardo DiCaprio's character spoke of ice fishing at Lake Wissota, it turns out that place didn't exist. Bible wasn't big enough. When the post-apocalyptic Western movie The Book of Eli debuted in 2010, it wasn't the most well-received of Denzel Washington's films. Although it grossed over $150 million at the box office, reviews appeared to be mixed at best. It seems that not everyone was won over by the action flick, with some feeling its dystopian theme didn't stand out from the crowd. However, several critics praised the movie's shocking moments, of which there were quite a few. On top of all the intentional reveals and surprises, there was also an unexpected shocker in the form of the Bible. Supposedly, it was a Braille version of the religious text, which Washington's characters spent the movie trying to protect. Marty McFly's guitar. The Back to the Future films were absolutely some of the greatest movies of the 80s, even if they didn't do an amazing job of predicting what life would be like nowadays. It seems that the people behind the movie thought our technology would be far more advanced by this point than it actually is. Perhaps that's why in the first movie, the guitar that Marty McFly plays in the 50s is a little ahead of its time. It didn't exist until 3 years after the film was set, so there's no way the character could have been playing it in the past.
Hey boy, you alright?
Physics failure. Being in a situation like Jodie Foster and Kristen Stewart were in Panic Room must be terrifying. The two women did well to survive their encounter with a group of burglars, although they might not have been so successful in real life. After all, one of the ways in which they managed to fight off the criminals wasn't entirely accurate. When a dangerous amount of propane gas filtered into the room, they fought back by setting it alight. The ceiling erupted into flames and caused an explosion outside, but Foster and Stewart's characters survived by hiding under fire blankets. In reality, the gas wouldn't have floated to the ceiling because it's actually heavier than air. Of course, that would have brought an abrupt and unsatisfying end to the movie.
It's called a panic room.
What?
A safe room. Castle, keep, and medieval.
Advanced weaponry. What chance do 300 men have against an elite army? That was a question that action film 300 asked back in 2007 when the King of Sparta led his men into battle. The movie saw the likes of Gerard Butler and Lena Headey team up with director Zack Snyder for what was ultimately a high-grossing film. Unfortunately, the critical response didn't quite match the $450 million that the movie had made, and there are several reasons why. The picture wasn't without its controversies, quite a few of which centered around historical inaccuracies. This included the things like the use of bombs and other weapons that wouldn't have existed several thousand years ago.
Pray to the winds.
Moving the Empire State Building. For years, people have been making movies predicting the end of the world. Independence Day was a popular one released during the 90s, and it's largely responsible for starting the trend of modern-day disaster films. It grossed over $800 million at the box office and took home an Academy Award for Best Visual Effects. But that doesn't mean it was free from mistakes. In fact, the movie had quite a big one that was noticeable when the aliens destroyed some of America's most famous buildings. When it came to the Empire State Building, the tower was shown at the end of a long road. However, this doesn't make any sense because that's not where the building is in real life. Chocolate chip cookies. It seems that Leonardo DiCaprio can't help but get involved in movies with historical inaccuracies. As if Titanic wasn't enough, the actor also appeared in The Aviator, which featured a small blooper. This happened when his character Howard Hughes asked his assistant to bring him 10 chocolate chip cookies. That's not an unreasonable request, but it's not something that anyone could have done in 1928. After all, these cookies didn't exist for another 10 years. So while DiCaprio might have been hungry for the snack, there's no way that Hughes would have been. Luckily, this little inaccuracy didn't affect the movie's success. Not only did it gross over $200 million at the box office, but it also received 11 nominations at the Academy Awards. It ultimately won 5, including Best Cinematography and Best Film Editing.
Jimmy, I want 10 chocolate chip cookies. All right? Medium chips, none too close to the outside. Got it?
This brings us to the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed it. Hit like if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. Also watch the 2 videos that are on your screen because I'm sure you'll love them. With that, I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.